I was born here in Christchurch in Papanui, and went to Burnside High back in the day. And my rap name was Word Perfect. So myself, Anton Carter, otherwise known as Ants-Man, Hamey Haim, and Richie were all friends that started stuff back in the 80s. So I've been doing this stuff since 1987. So I'm one of the old fellas. And so how it first started for me in Christchurch was my friend Anton had just bought 2 albums. He bought Run DMC and Beastie Boys. And at that stage I was into all sorts of music because I was a big time skateboarder at that stage. I was more focused on being a good skateboarder. And anyway, he bought these 2 albums and played them and freaked me out. I was like, it's over. So I listened to that music and I was so jealous. And I went straight to Echo Records and bought an album. So now the reason why my presentation is called Unreasonable is because I didn't really fit for a long time until I decided that I would just do me. And I know that a lot of people involved in hip hop feel this way. And it can get frustrating waiting for your time, waiting for your opportunity, waiting for someone to pick you, waiting for someone to go, oh yeah, you're the real deal, just waiting. So this is a bit of a story about that, and then also about if you want more, it's okay. Because I see so many people that don't get involved with hip hop, they have their 5 minutes of fame, and then they go back to a life that's not exciting. I'm like, actually hip hop can prepare you for a life that's exciting. You just need to take the same principles that you were good with hip hop and take it to the next level. So yeah, when I was younger, I wanted more. So that's me in 1987. Skateboard contest, Hagley High, Tony Hawk sort of haircut, Bones Brigade was hot, see the blonde tips. You know, I thought I was representing. I had bandanas and Converse socks. I was legit. You know, again, I just lived skateboarding. And so that was kind of my thing. And then again, like I say, I came across this thing called hip hop, where at that stage it was just rap music to me. I didn't really understand the cultural implications of what hip hop was. I just knew that this rap music thing was contagious and I was addicted, and that was that. So this was the album that I bought. It was 1987, and Ice-T, Power, and I played this, and this guy was a storyteller rapper, and the stuff that he was dropping just blew me away. I'd never heard somebody with the coolest voice out there, storytelling, and I could just step into his world, and it just blew me away. I was like, how does somebody get on a song and make me feel like I'm in LA? I couldn't wrap my head around it. And such conviction. I'd never heard people communicate with such conviction. And it made me feel like America was the place of the golden-haired children. You know, like if you go there, oh, it's all going to happen. So I had that dream sort of about that time, and as you can appreciate, being a skateboarder and then getting involved in hip-hop, I saw America as kind of the answer. And in some ways it was, in some ways it wasn't, but I'll explain that as we go by. But yeah, this was the album that started me. So, but what I always discovered, and you know, for anyone that's of a certain age, skateboarding in the 80s, you're an outsider. You know, you try and grind a step, you're a criminal. So I already knew the kind of attitude that people had towards hip-hop because I already had it with skateboarding. Skateboarding wasn't accepted back then. And especially as you got older. As you got older, it's like, well, when are you going to give that up? When are you going to give that up? I go, no, you don't understand. I am skateboarding. And then when I got involved with hip-hop, it was the same. It wasn't, I don't do rap, I am hip-hop. So, you know, I b-boyed, I did design, I did all sorts of stuff. But due to timing and also being a white boy doing essentially black music and black culture, I was an outsider. And also just due to timing, there were just situations that happened where I was never quite the guy that fit. So, for example, in the late 80s, all my boys were all into this stuff. And then I went to Auckland to run a skateboard park called Graffiti Junction. And it was fun times, don't get me wrong. I was skateboarding with Tony Hawk and the Bones Brigade. And, so I was living my skateboard dream. But when I came back, my friends had started making moves with hip-hop. And they started the show called Beats and Pieces on RDU. And so I'd go up to the shows every week. I was like, oh, boys, so it's cool if I join you guys? And they were like, nah. I was like, what? Stink. so that actually lit a bit of a fire for me. I was like, oh, really? Oh, okay then. And I'm from a family of 5 boys, and if someone tells me I can't do something or you're not accepted, I'm like, oh, well, bring it. So then I decided that sort of lit a fire for me. And then a few years later, I was like, I'd done fashion design first year out of school, and I was like, I really want to be a streetwear designer. And so I was like, how do I get still involved with skateboarding and all that stuff and find my way to being a designer? So I went to Wellington. And Wellington at the time was pretty much, the capital in New Zealand of DJing. They had the best hip-hop DJs bar none. DJ Raw, Goosh, Reese B, Sean T, Rockhead, all these guys were amazing DJs. And so it was a golden time for Wellington from 95 through to about 98. They were crushing it. But I was from Christchurch. I was a white boy. I wasn't down with the Wellington scene because I had to prove my worth. And this is a little bit about hip-hop. Hip-hop, the ethos of hip-hop is don't talk about being a rapper, rap. Don't talk about being a dancer, dance. Don't talk about being a graph writer, put it up. It's all about show and prove. So I did, and for years I've been known as the freestyle guy. Most people that know me know I started rap battles in New Zealand 22 years ago. And freestyling off the top has been my thing since day dot. And again, I've been doing it for longer than most rappers here have been alive. So hopefully I've got some skills with it. I was at the bar last night and there was a drunk girl sitting next to me. I've got a topic. Do you wanna do a rap? I'm real good. And I was like, are you sure, babe? And she's like, yeah. And then we had some fun, and she quickly realized, oh, you're an old fella, but you're pretty good. And it was really funny. So this sort of stuff is kind of what brings me joy. But again, being an outsider in these places where, in Wellington, there was a guy called Cos163, who was kind of the captain of Wellington hip-hop sort of team. And I knew all the old school dudes, B-Boy Swerve, who ran the dance stuff, and his brother, who was an amazing graph writer. And Cos used to come into my skateboard store, and he had mad headphones on, he had the whole styles. I was like, oh, who's that guy? He's legit. And anyway, after a while, I asked him, what are you listening to? And he told me what he was listening to. He was listening to Smooth the Hustler. And then he used to come back to the shop, and we'd have freestyles. And then eventually his house on Courtney Place was called The Kitchen. And anyone coming from out of town to Wellington had to come to The Kitchen. And in the kitchen, so people like Sir-vere and DLT and at that stage, Specs and people like that were also moving to Wellington. And it was interesting because I thought, I'm from Christchurch. We don't really have much of a hip-hop scene. Everybody's better than people in Christchurch. Wellington must be amazing. Auckland must be amazing. So go to this kitchen, we start having a freestyle, and quite honestly, they were mud at freestyling. They were good rappers, but they were terrible at freestyling because the place that I'd come from, we had freestyle sessions every day, 7 days a week. It was rhyming last word, 8-bar flow. We were practicing every day. So at that stage, Christchurch was heat. And there was another guy called Hamey Haim, who people may know from his old rap days and from Breaks Co-op, who was so far ahead of most people in New Zealand. And the reason was because he had been living in LA, and he got schooled up by all the LA guys. And so he had come back with all this knowledge, but he was a really difficult personality. This dude was a 6'9" white guy who wasn't afraid to tell everybody how they were effing up. And so as a result, he was a real love-hate dude. But you couldn't knock his skills. His freestyling at the time just blew me away. His rap skills blew me away. He could DJ, he could beat make. People like Manuel Bundy were coming to Christchurch to ask Hamish about music. And if anyone here knows who Manuel Bundy is, you're talking about the dons of soul music, hip-hop, house in New Zealand. That's how respected he was. So I had some good tutelage, but again, he was a bit of a hard taskmaster. But that sort of showed me what was possible. But again, I didn't really fit in. So again, Wellington had its own thing, but I wasn't really like a Wellington guy. So I kind of always felt like I had to, again, prove myself. And it was pretty tiring, to be perfectly honest with you. All right, and then after that, I moved to Auckland. And I was running a cheapskates factory shop. And again, I wasn't really from Auckland, but Auckland was a bigger city. It was a little bit more accepting of new dudes. But still, I was like, you know, it was kind of hard. I'd go down to the box, Course Celeb, High Street, and freestyle with King Kapisi and Sheifu, and we all used to freestyle together, and that's when freestyle sessions were really popping off in Auckland. And so people knew who I was, and a very young Hazardous, he would come to those ciphers as well, and he'd just come from out of town into Auckland. And that's where it started, but I was still somewhat on my skateboarding tip, and I went to Melbourne to set up a cheapskates in Melbourne. And when I was in Melbourne, again, I'm an outsider, and again, I got immersed in, I met some rappers, I went to some radio shows, I saw what they were doing, and in Australia, they had rap battles. I was like, how is it that Australia, with all these whack rappers, has got rap battles, and in New Zealand we don't have rap battles? I went to this battle at a place called Revolver in Melbourne, and they were using an 808 drum machine as the background for the battles, and it was just lame. But they had 40 guys ready to battle. 40. I was like, damn, that's a lot of guys. We're going to be here all night. So I watched this battle, and it was pretty weak. And unfortunately, the guy that was running cheapskates at the time hadn't really thought through how he was going to make the shop work, and so staying there didn't last. So I knew I was coming back to Auckland. By this stage, I was like, man, I've been rejected, and I feel like I've been rejected in Christchurch, I've been rejected in Wellington, I've been rejected in Melbourne, I'm like, I don't really fit in Auckland. I'm like, I'm starting to get to breaking point. And not breaking point like sad, like breaking point like, I'm going to do something about this. I'm sick of this. I'm not waiting for anybody. I'm not waiting for acceptance. I'm going to do what I know I need to do. And as you can appreciate, this is when I'm 30. I started when I was 17, so at that stage I'd already been freestyling for 13 years. So I was like, I've got to start rap battles. But honestly, people were telling me, oh, you sure? You sure? It's going to be fights. It's going to be fussies. It's going to be all this stuff. And I'm going, I don't care. I'm doing it. So I did. And I created a night called Night of the Living MCs. And I put the word out to everyone I knew. So everyone in South Auckland, Dawn Raid, all those guys, all the West Auckland guys, all the Central guys, and just kind of hoped that this thing would work. So, cool, bro. So I was pretty nervous, as you can imagine, and Sir-vere, who's here, was actually one of the sponsors, this record shop, Beat Merchants. And so I go to the venue that night going, hope this works. And 300 people turned up. And little did I know that this was kind of the start of, I know there's the movements here, but movement, you know, where all these dudes got their first shine. You know, all the talent like you're seeing during this week. And I've pulled aside a lot of young guys here this week and said, don't let me see you do another local show. Like, you're good enough. it's time to get out. It's time to go. And that was really one of the big lessons that I learned about being rejected and being an outsider was there's never a right time. You're never going to get everybody to go, ah, you're the man. That's never going to happen. But there was something else that was going on in me. I've always been a bit of a Renaissance man. I'm a multi-talented guy. I'm a designer. I was a clothes designer. I've been a dancer. I've done all sorts of different things. I'm now a speaker. And one of the reasons why I decided on the theme Unreasonable was to say that hip-hop is just the start. That the reality is that hip-hop is based really in terms of your journey as a soul. And being fully expressed. I know a lot of people struggle in life with regular 9-to-5 jobs feeling like, man, I know what makes me happy, but how am I going to pay the bills? And the cool thing about hip-hop is it is pretty unreasonable. And the reality is that we're on the arse end of the world. You know, the fact that New Zealand hip-hop does so well is amazing. The talent here is ridiculous. But I see way too many people not prepared to take a risk and show up. And so I really wanted to share a message today about there's no right time. And it's really, and again, as some of the people that have had commercial success will know, when you're in the middle of it, you're like, yeah, my life, oh boy, I am peaking. And then 5 minutes later you go, damn, that ended, that finished, now what? And so that's a really difficult thing, because when you identify as something, like I identified as a skateboarder, then my body started breaking down. So I couldn't really skate. Then I identified as a hip-hopper, then I was an old dude, so I wasn't really cool, or whatever it was. That was really hard. It's really difficult making those transitions from being seen as somebody of merit to, you're old news. That's really difficult. But there's so many other things that you can do with the talents that you learn in hip-hop. And so I wanted to kind of share that. So, like with my clothing brand called Undermined, I did $600,000 in sales in year one. This is again, what most people know me for is the battle for supremacy. Now, I got this logo done by my man John, who's probably the leading brand guy in New Zealand now. If anyone's seen Hummingbird coffee logos, same guy. He did Fubar, the original stuff in Fubar in Auckland, amazing work. And this was it. This was the start of something that launched a lot of people. Now, I've got to tell you, I didn't have that intention. I actually wasn't that guy that went, I'm going to support my community. No, actually, I was a hungry freestyle rapper going, there's no place for me to do this and get all the other people that are into this in one room. There just isn't. And that sucks. I started rap battles to actually go in them. But I had judges that had no connection to me. But even so, it still became too political, and eventually I had to stop going in them because there were just too many dickheads. So, but by that stage, we had started something where the standards were getting better and better and better and better. And also, at that stage, the commercial success was starting to pop off. So, again, major sponsors were getting behind people like Sir-vere and Major Flavors and Dawn Raid. And it seemed like every rapper in the world was sponsored by Boost Mobile. And, and it was like crazy time. Because quite honestly, as hip-hop cats, when you were playing at a concert with other musics, you were in the back shed. You were not cool. Rock and roll was front, and you dudes were at the back, and you're lucky you got that. That was the attitude. So, we didn't realize it, but we were in the golden era. That 2000 to 2006 or so, when there was money and opportunities and big day outs and national tours and videos and, it was crazy. I felt like, man, I'm on TV like every second week. Nesian Mystic, everyone's like, oh yeah, Nesian Love and, hip-hop and Morocco and Scribe and whoa, we were proud. We were like, yeah, hip-hop, baby. Rock and roll can kiss my ass, But, we didn't know that just as fast it was also going to fall off, because a lot of money was coming into us for that to happen. And then all of a sudden, it wasn't cool. and a lot of those funds got pulled. And so some of the economic impacts of that stuff was really felt from a lot of people for a lot of reasons. And another reason why I ended up stopping doing rap battles after a while was because I'm like, man, I've just got so many dudes trying to tell me how to do it, even though they don't do anything themselves. And so many people telling me what's wrong. And I'm spending all this money and I'm making all this effort. And then these dudes want to try and sabotage me after all this time, even though, you know, you're about to see a picture soon of all the people that have come through my battles. So, you know, you've got Moreko, Cyphernetic, you know, Tyner Keelan, David Dallas, Jay Rocha, Tourette's. That's probably half of them. And, you know, like the guy on the bottom right, Dom, Tourette's, you know, he was really good. You know, he has a lot of health struggles these days. He's an amazing poet, and he's kept a really great mindset. He was incredible. And I remember one time he came up to me and he's like, in one of the rap battles, like, Jay, I smoked that dude. Like, how did I lose? And I went, because no one could hear you. Your mic control was terrible. And he's like, because we would record all the battles so we could clearly hear who had mic control. And the very next battle, we won the Nationals. You know, you got to understand that for some of these dudes, this is the highlight of their life artistically. There's another guy from West Auckland, a guy called Abbott, who's had up and down stuff in his life. And at the end of rap battles, I was like, I had the trophy. And I was kind of like, do I really want to hang on to this trophy? Like, I didn't win it. So I called him up and I said, because I knew he'd had a lot of trials and tribulations, and I gave him the trophy. But yeah, so all those dudes. And so if anybody likes Decepticons, anybody likes Broken Records, Dubious Brothers, David Dallas, all these dudes. So, you know, this is, I didn't know, I didn't plan this, but you know, this is what happens when you create, sorry, just get a bit more. You know, great things like this platform. Right now you think, oh, this is a fun experience. You have no idea what's going to come out of this event. I've seen guys today, last night at the showcase, that are world class already. But they're still thinking, am I good enough? I go, no, you're not good enough. You're great. But you don't know, because you're still asking your mates and your family, do you think this is good? Do you think this is good? Do you think this is good? And again, all I can say is, if you want unreasonable results, you're going to have to be unreasonable. I've done a lot of things that are kind of scary and out there, like I say, skateboarding of big ramps and Tony Hawk and killing my body and taking myself to New York and making the final of the Rock City Crew anniversary battle and, you know, chilling out with Black Eyed Peas in their hotel room, looking at tour footage and hanging out with Afro Bambaataa and all his dancers and talking about hip-hop culture. You know, I've done a lot of stuff. Dave Paul, the starter of Bomb Records, the starter of the DJ movement, is a personal friend of mine. You know, like crazy stuff. I bought Freestyle, The Art of Rhyme, the movie, to New Zealand for all the people that, you know, really love to freestyle. So, you know, if anybody in here has got a dream or something that they're a bit scared of doing, good. Because if you're not scared, it's not big enough. So if whatever you're planning to do seems easily doable, it's not good enough. And that's because when you get scared, it's exciting. Because fear and excitement manifest in the body the same way. Sweaty palms, anxiety. So you think about it, it's just flick the switch and it goes from fear to excitement. So again, after I launched that, a few years later, I met some Aussie guys and we did the first international rap battle in the world, New Zealand versus Australia, which I sucked at, by the way. If anyone watches me in my round, I was so hyped up, I was just not with it, and I actually sucked. But this was probably the greatest compliment to me. There's a guy called Mike Pipes who carried on a lot of the battle stuff after I pulled back. And he'd been living in Australia and he'd done battles over there. And then he rings me up one day and he goes, "Hey, bro, do you mind if I call this battle the Cunningham Shield?" My last name is Cunningham. So I said, "Oh, shut up. You're taking the piss. You can't be serious." He goes, "No, I'm serious." And he sends me this photo. So, I've been talking too much since I've been here, so my throat's always dry. But anyway, that just tripped me out, just because you don't know what's going to happen, because you were unreasonable, because, you took the judgment and you kept moving forward, and you applied yourself because you knew that in my heart, this is my thing. Because I could quite easily have focused on putting out albums after albums. I put out one album, I had a little bit of success with it, I did tours, I played with Indonesian and Australia, we did all sorts of stuff. I played around the world, I played in London, I played in America, I played in, 4 or 5 countries, For most people, they go, "That's a pretty good rap career," but the reality was I was always an improv cat. I was always a freestyle dude. That was my thing. That was always my passion. So, but eventually that came to an end too, and I had to evolve. So I became trained in a thing called NLP, and NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and it's basically like, if anyone knows who Tony Robbins is, the big motivational speaker guy, this is what he's trained in, right? So I'm trained in all this stuff, and basically what I do now is help people stand out in their businesses and find out what their kind of magic source is, their X factor, and then really help them magnify that. Because these days, with so much media, it's quite hard to stand out. And so you've got to kind of go within to kind of own your juice before you can go out. Because if you keep copying people, that's what you are, a copycat. And so this was, sort of where I went with that. And, I've, again, spoken around the world and done a lot of stuff. That's the suited JC. And Kirsten from Sleep Drops, which is a very popular product here. And then I was living in Australia and I wanted to go bigger again. And I created an event called Creative Supernova, which was for creative entrepreneurs, and I got speakers from all around the world. I had the founder of Make-A-Wish Foundation. I had some of the biggest speakers in the world. There's a giving platform called Buy One, Give One. They've done 500 million impacts with what they do in terms of supporting United Nations and empowering communities. So I put that on at the Hilton in Los Angeles. And again, that's this guy, smooth operator, operating smooth. So that was super scary for me, just by the way. I didn't really have much of a network in LA. I just literally kind of had to put my balls in my pocket and do it, and just go, let's just hope I get over there. It's an old skateboarding term, by the way. If you want to make a trick, put your balls in your pocket and do it. And, and it was hard. And to be honest, I lost money. But I got other things, like a new wife. So that was cool. So, just to finish up, hip-hop is about these things. So, the reality is, it doesn't have to be called hip-hop. To me, I see hip-hop's evolution as actually dropping the name hip-hop and realizing that it's really more about how we as souls, express our soul and become fully empowered. Because I see people kind of having an opinion about hip-hop that don't know anything about hip-hop, right? So, hip-hop is this, hip-hop is gangster rap. Okay, dude, there's so many genres of rap. What are you talking about? And the reality is most of that conflict stuff that was kind of perpetuated. Now, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of people in hip-hop that come from tough environments, and they reflect their environment in their lyrics, and I have absolutely no judgment on that. That's perfectly healthy. I think that's the best thing you could possibly do, is to reflect your environment, because it's cathartic, it's healing, it's such a great thing to do. And again, I've lived all over New Zealand. I've lived in South Auckland, I've lived in Christchurch, I've lived in Wellington, I've lived in all these different places, and I've seen how it is. And, again, people in Christchurch, you have a feeling about South Auckland. I can tell you, in South Auckland, they got a feeling about you too. And neither one of those things is accurate. And and that's the good thing about hip hop, is that it doesn't matter whether you're a woman or a man, or you're short or you're fat or you're brown or you're white. Don't talk about it, be about it. And, skateboarding and hip hop gave me this. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
Would you say when you moved to Auckland that tonight you guys up about what you'd like to do with your life? When did you discover that when you were Wellington?
It's a good question. I'll be honest with you, even though I was close friends with the Pacific Underground guys, Poss and Tanya and Michelle and all that crew, and, I still, even though I was down with those people, it still Christchurch seemed very white and very, pretty bland. And I wasn't excited. I wasn't excited. In Wellington, I didn't find it that much of a difference to Christchurch, but I did find that the people there were way more passionate and had more kind of depth with hip-hop. So that was quite exciting, to know that there was actual lineage and heritage in Wellington. And I really liked that. And also, being fortunate enough to be friends with Cosmo, who was one of, he's kind of like the JC of Wellington. He's old school Wellington, like what he doesn't know is not worth knowing. And, that was really, really fun for me. When I got to Auckland, Auckland's an interesting place because Auckland really is in one city. Again, if you live in South Auckland, that's South Auckland. You can't say South Auckland's like Remuera. Whereas Christchurch, it's quite small and compact, I know some people in East Christchurch don't feel like that. They're going to go, oh no, Aranui and out that way, we're our own buzz. But to me, Christchurch was pretty small. But Auckland's got pockets, like when you go out west, the West Side boys out here, no, they got their own thing. You go to South Auckland, they've got their own thing. You go to the guys in Central, they've got their own thing. And so that's what was amazing about it, was when you can get all of those people to come together without conflict. Because you have to understand that in the 90s, there was a fair bit of conflict going on in Auckland. The start of the 90s, there was, a lot of TCGs and King Cobras, and I had friends that were in there, and it was just like, one of my friends, my friend Matt, who was a basketball player from Grey Lynn, he was a white boy, but he ran with all the Samoan boys, and it was just, guns and machetes, and it was crazy, like nothing you'd ever seen in Christchurch. But he would tell me those stories. I wasn't in the middle of that, but I was just like, that just sounds too hectic. And then when I lived out south, literally, I had a cop come into my shop one day and say, your shop's about to get hit for an aggravated robbery. I spot this dude, he stole a Subaru, and they're going to come in here and they're going to tie you up, and they got shotguns, and they're going to steal your dickies and use them as a tinny house currency. I was like, this shit doesn't happen in Christchurch. But Auckland just has this beautiful kaleidoscope of culture, and so to me it was way more interesting. Just way more interesting. I love being immersed in Pacific Island culture, for example. As you know, my best friend is Bill, like King Kapisi, and just, I'm really close with that family. And it's just such a beautiful thing. And so welcoming. So I love Auckland. Yeah. So I don't know if that answers your question. Does it answer your question? It's a good story. Okay, well, you kind of get the buzz, yeah. I definitely feel now that, no offence to Christchurch, but this place is just too small for me. And I find New Zealand pretty small. You know, I've lived in a lot of countries. I've lived in Germany, I've lived in America, I've done a lot of different stuff. But I suppose at my time of life now, and being married to a wonderful woman and have been living pretty much in the best country in the world, you know, I'm like, I have to find ways to kind of be here and be centered, but still think globally. And luckily, I can use the internet to have clients in America and earn US dollars, which is pretty cool. And that's what I want for other people. That's actually what I want for other people. Like I say, I put a lot of people aside the last 2 or 3 days. That's why my voice is like this, just kind of saying, hey, you know, what's the next level?
Did you have any mentors?
Yeah, good question. Again, Hamish, back in the day from Brax Co-op, he was just this far ahead, technically, to everybody. So that was super good. Yeah. Well, Ant-Man wasn't my mentor. We went to school together, so you know we were homeboys. You know, like we were doing it together. So it wasn't really like that. I know Anton has been a massive impact on New Zealand, being Polynesian Arts Advisor for Creative New Zealand and lots of other stuff, and he's mentored so many people and been attached to YCD and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, originally it would have been it was Hamish. Also for me, from a dancing perspective, it was B-Boy Swerve in Wellington. You know, anyone that knows who Swerve is, he is the OG of b-boying in New Zealand. You know, like without doubt. You know, and I was always really good friends with Daryl, DLT. You know, I think he always liked this opinionated Pākehā fella. You know, he'd give me shit and I give him shit back, and there was a lot of respect because of that. You know, he quite liked that, and he was always a supporter of mine. You know. As much as he knew that my mouth might get me into trouble, he was always like, go for it, bro. So and then other than that, again, you know, Cosmo, and again, through all that time, through, 25 years, King Caps. Yeah, cool, man. Bucks.
What do you think about, I guess, the non-prevalence of freestyle in the game at the moment? Because, like, I remember when I first got into it, they kind of, it was a prerequisite, you had to be able to freestyle and stuff. But these days it doesn't really seem like there's much emphasis on freestyle anymore.
Here's what I know. Everything is cyclical. You know, I've seen skateboarding go through so many ups and downs. Like, the greatest thing, no one skateboards. Greatest thing, no one skateboards. Same kind of thing happens, I find, with creative arts. You know, like right now in New Zealand, if you really look at it as an art form, you'd probably say dance is the most participated in thing. It's crazy how big dance is in New Zealand. You know, Paris Goebbels and all their posse and all that. Incredible. But I look at someone like Harry Mack, who's all over TikTok and stuff, and that's what he's doing, and he's getting millions of views. So much so I went on TikTok and put hashtag Harry Mack's dad. Let me teach you guys how to do freestyles and sound like Harry Mack. Because, as you know, Pucks, I've been doing that Harry Mack stuff 20 years ago. So he's a long way behind, but he's incredible. He's absolutely incredible. You can't front on the dude. He does have all that. So, as a freestyler, would I like there to be a lot more people doing it? Yeah. But you and I both know how hard it is to go straight off the top and get to a level where you feel like you're on. And these premeditated rap battles, to me, they're not hip-hop. They're just not to me. They're angry poetry battles. There's not even any music. How's it hip-hop? You know? I know your mum's star sign and your underpants are too tight and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, wicked.
But do you think that view comes from your age?
No, because to me, the cornerstone of hip-hop is the DJ. And what does the DJ do? Play music. So if you're not playing music, why do you think you're hip-hop? That's like saying I got the right hat on and the sneakers, and if I do poetry like this, that you should see that I'm real hip-hop. There's nothing hip-hop about that. Being angry is not hip-hop. So to me, that's where that to me is not a generational thing. I see hip-hop as soul music. I see the community as being a thing that brings us together, and it's about heart and soul. And I see and my initial reason for starting battles was actually to allow people to actually free their style, like the word says. you know, because I can tell you that the most interesting rappers did just that. They got loose and created beautiful art.
Just with gangster rap, then, do you think that's hip hop?
Oh, yeah, this is not a, I'm not saying, no, but that's different, because again, there's music involved. You know, like, but again, if I, because gangster rap is one of the cornerstones of expression in hip hop, and always will be. Now, I think the term gangster rap is a pretty shitty term, to be honest, because to me, it's pain rap. I got pain.
So if someone is doing a gangster rap, but with no music behind it, would you call that?
Well, I'd call that poetry. To me, that's poetry. That's spoken word.
Perspective thing, you know?
Yeah. And again, there's no right or wrong. No one made me the arbiter of what's right or wrong or good or bad, you know. And that's one of the things in hip hop, is that for so long, people have said, this is how you do it. This is how you should be. This is what you should look like. This is how you should rap. And it's like, dude, just do you. And so I appreciate the question, because it's a good dialogue, that, because, and I appreciate that too, that you asked that generational question, because there are a lot of dudes that are my age that are particularly stuck. Like, you know, you got to dance this way, you got to rap this way, it's got to be this way, otherwise it's not real. Piss off. You know, hip hop is as much yours as it is mine, as it is Brad's, as it is, you know. And so I appreciate that clarification.
I'm just wondering, like, what your parents were like when you said that, said what you wanted to do. You're like, you can
Well, yeah, there's my mum's up there. So you know, my mum is an amazing woman, and I'm really lucky, because I know, and you know, we know, there are a lot of people involved with hip hop that didn't have a home environment that was supportive for them to develop, to feel encouraged, to feel affirmed, and it wasn't safe. And you know, again, my parents were divorced, but I remember when my dad was a black and white dude, and I remember even when he wasn't living with us, and he cracked out a jug cord and, you know, gave it to me, and I was always like, thank God I don't live with that dude. But, you know, like, I'm very, very lucky, you know. So, and I think that's the thing. We can always look back and kind of go, where did I come from? And this is the interesting thing, and again, I'm trained in this, that most indigenous culture, when you talk about history, it goes from left to right. So this is why a lot of white people struggle to understand that they need to take responsibility for the past, because white people see the future there and the past behind them. It's a very different way of looking at time. And there's a thing called timeline therapy to help people heal from wounds and trauma. And when you learn that, it really freaks you out, because you start understanding why there's such a disconnect. Like, for white people to go, why can't these guys see what I'm doing? Because they're not processing the information the way you are, and vice versa. And, you know, once you understand that, it's so much easier to appreciate everybody's perspective, you know, rather than, again, falling into that idea of what's right and what's wrong. And, you know, so again, you know, I look at all sorts of people, from Ermin to, you know, who's gone through his journey of evolving, and, you know, the movement, who had a beautiful korero the other day, you know, and I just go, man, just amazing to see how people evolve, and Cosmo and all those guys. And, you know, hip-hop's such a beautiful thing. But, you know, unfortunately, most people see hip-hop as rap music. They don't see hip-hop as this amazing empowerment vehicle that we're all part of. And so I'm about reminding people about that, and about whatever I can do to support people to step into their power. That's my mission. Yeah. Mark.
I was just going to correct you, bro. There's no date.
Oh.
School. Because Ryan Page was the first one in 87.
Okay. All right.
But you're close, bro.
I'm old, bro. I'm old. There's only a couple of brain cells swimming in there now, you know. Don't be too harsh, bro. Don't be too harsh. Any questions? My question for everybody else here. Oh, sorry, my man. Yeah. Oh, what a great question. Quality question. Oh, rock bottom. There's been a few, bro. So, you know, again, there's just been a few things that happened that really cut me, you know. Picking one. Well, there's been a few. You know, there were some New Zealand hip hop summits where I didn't make it onto stage because I had personality conflicts with certain people, and that felt really, really gutting because you know I'd put a lot of work in. So that was disappointing. There was another time when my FM was running hip hop stage at Big Day Out, and I had a set to do, and because I was an artist on my FM, they kicked me off because they had mismanaged their own time. That was gutting. Because, you know, as anybody here that's been on stages knows, it doesn't last forever. So, you know, those moments are pretty big. Another thing that that I did that was all me, that was a pretty low moment, I just really mishandled it. I had Open Souls as my backing band at the Big Day Out. Now, if anyone knows who Open Souls is, they're an amazing band. And I stuffed up. So I did my set, and then there's a couple of my friends from South Auckland on the front, Suntan and from guys from Lost Tribe, and I got them up on stage, thinking, oh, this is cool. But what I didn't do was give the band their chance to do their thing. I didn't honour them. And, I was just so disappointed in myself. And to be honest, they pretty much cut me off after that. So, you know, I didn't mean to do it, but I just didn't think it through. And that was the thing, you know, what I know is that most artists are very sensitive people, very fragile. You know, I've had people come up to me, and I'm not going to mention names, that are very big right now in the past, and ask me, you know, what do you think of what I just did? And I've given them that feedback, and they've looked at me like I just stabbed them. You know, like, how can you say that? You just asked me. And so, to be honest with you, most of the time, until I really know someone personally, I just affirm people. I don't actually tell them what I think, because I've discovered that that's a recipe for disaster. And it certainly didn't help me. So, and again, as I said, I've always been a bit of an outsider. So outsiders always have to work a little bit harder than people that are locals. So, I mean, and I've got a type of personality where pretty much you're either down with me or you're like, nah. And that's just who I am, you know? And so you got to live and die by that. It just is what it is. Not everyone's going to be down for you. What's that? Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, I've been unreasonable, you know? You know, and again, me and King Caps, we're still organising events to change the face of the country. You know, Hoops and Life, we want to create the biggest street life culture basketball event in New Zealand. We're accredited by the NBA. You know, like, we don't play small, we don't muck around. And the reason why we're best friends is because we're both relentless. We're both unreasonable. And because of music and because of hip-hop, we don't have much fear. What's the worst thing you can say to me? You suck. It's an opinion. No. I'll talk to someone else. And I talk to guys that are in here right now that have got mad talent. And, you know, they're still wondering whether they're ready. You're never ready. Just do it anyway. You're never ready. Just do it anyway. You know, if you've got a dream, and that's why I wanted to ask you guys questions, because that's what I'm here to do. Whatever fear you've got around a dream that you got right now, I would love to support you to get past it. Because I want to see this whole room do stuff that's never been done before, and have people be excited and empowered and live lives where they go, I kicked some ass. I took some numbers. I'm living large. I can chill, I can rest, I can relax, I got good health, I'm living well. My children are looked after. You know, I'm still doing art as an adult. I don't have to do it as a pastime. I actually do it when I want to do it. All those dream things, because all creatives care about is the next thing they can create. But for so many of us, our responsibilities don't give us the bandwidth to do that, right? And so, you know, I want to help people step into that. That's kind of, again, my mission. Who has a dream? Mark? Yeah. Go. I appreciate that. You know, Mark is pretty much the historian of New Zealand hip hop. I mean, I'm telling you, this guy would have every release ever put out
Check his back.
since the 80s to now.
Fuck, is he showing you his
It's
back?
unbelievable. It's unbelievable. You know, he really is the guy. You know, like, whatever you want to know, you'd be amazed what he has. It's crazy. And, you know, I really appreciate that, Mark. You know, this has been a long time coming. You know, I think for a lot of people, COVID's been tough, right? And I've been so detached from all the things that bring me joy. So, this is so pertinent for me too, you know, to constantly ask this question. You know, because right now it's been pretty tough, and I'm just, you know, super stoked to be here. It wasn't really planned, to be honest. I was meant to come down for an event at the end of the month, and then that wasn't going to happen, but Bill had already bought the tickets, so now we switched the tickets, and I arrived, and, you know, I couldn't be happier, you know, it's great. And, you know, I'm 52. You know, I've been representing for a long time, you know. I've won rap battles in my 30s, 40s, and 50s, and my ambition is to win a rap battle in my 60s. So anyone still going in 8 years' time, give us a call. My friend.
I just am curious, what do you think has been the key to your success in the New Zealand business? Is it just one brand, the things that you focus on the same? It sounds like you're quite entrepreneurial. Can you talk about the NLP side of things around
Yeah, sure.
brief and mind coding and
Yep.
what supports people on the ground to try this thing and kind of do what you've done?
Oh, great question. Really good question. So in NLP, what stops most people from success is belief. It's just belief. So most people need evidence to believe in something. And I'm very lucky that I was blessed with very little fear. My mother will tell you I was jumping off walls and breaking arms and whatever, and I was just like, yeah. I was that dude. So I was lucky that that was genetic. But from NLP standpoint, again, beliefs form behaviors and behaviors form outcomes. So you might learn how to do something, but if you have beliefs that sabotage what you know, you won't take action. So you've got to deal with the beliefs. And for so many people, they've got an idea about who they are, and that idea is the very thing that stops them from being who they could be. So that's why I allow you to dream. Now, when you dream, it doesn't have to be right. And fear is the opposite of control. So most people that are driven by fear are trying to control everything. You know, if I don't go out, I'll be safe. If I don't do this, no one will judge me. If I stay here, I'm good. If I just wear this safe clothing, no one will look at me twice. And so on and so forth. Wow, so much work to stay safe. You know, so it's a massive part of what I do. And I have to tell you, from working with people that are successful to millionaires to billionaires, everybody is driven by that one thing. And so in terms of entrepreneurialism, New Zealanders have this thing. Why not? Why not? oh, I'm going to go overseas and give these guys a bit of a go with a rap battle. Why not? I can tell you that's actually pretty weird. You go to America, they don't think like that. Nah. They're like, oh, they think hierarchies. That's a beautiful thing about New Zealand is it's largely one way. You know, it's like, oh, give it a go. And that's the thing that I love about New Zealand. People here are really pretty brave. They'll take a risk. They'll have a go. And they don't take themselves too seriously. And because they don't take themselves too seriously, they're not so attached to the results. Because if you're really attached to the results, often you'll be let down. I've got a saying that I say is that, you know, when you take a risk, you might not get what you want, but you get more than you expected. You know, Creative Supernova is a classic example. You know, I'll be honest with you, me and my business partner lost $100,000. But I found a wife. And you know, would I pay that debt? Yeah. Does that help? Cool. Nice one. Wow, I feel like I've been talking a lot. I want to honour the space and the time. I think it's time to wrap it up. I think we're going to have get the other legends in the space to sit up here and share their wisdom. And I just want to thank everybody for being here and for participating and supporting the team and giving me, you know, a space to share. It's a real honour. Thank you.
Kia ora koutou katoa. Just like to do a big mihi to the brother Word Perfect, JC. That was really, really insightful, and it's really cool to have you back in the city. I only really knew of you from legend, from a lot of the people in the scene, so it's really cool to be able to meet you and get to pick your brains while you're here. And kia ora, thank you for that kōrero on behalf of all the young people of Christchurch. It's just really, really cool to have you as part of this, everyone. Ngā mihi. Yeah, so it was actually an excuse to come get my phone because I left it here. And then, Tommy's asked me to introduce our next speaker, a very good friend of ours, and he's come to Christchurch many times and showed really a lot of, just a lot of support for the rangatahi young people of Christchurch Ōtautahi. So, just like to welcome our good friend Sydney Diamond up to the podium. I don't know. This is what I've been told. So, just be cool to hear some.
He's gonna get up with me.
Do a double. But
Yeah, bro. How about tōtoko, man?
all right.
Kia ora koutou. Kua whakamine mai nei ki tēnei wāhi, ki te tautoko i ngā kaupapa i tēnei wā, ka nui te mihi mahana kia koutou. Ko te tumanako ia, ka whaihua ngā mātauranga kei mua i a tātou, me mihi ka tika kia Danny L. Tēnā koe. Nō reira, i runga i te ngākau maha ki tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Ko Sydney Diamond ahau, nō hokianga, nō kukiarani ahau, and I'm going to go and speak in English now. I don't know, I was holding that. I mean, it's a privilege for me to be here in Christchurch to get Ōtautahi again. To actually speak to some people. Unfortunately, there's not that many rangatahi in here, but that's cool. I'm cool with that. And just listening to JC, I only know that was your name now. I always knew you as Word Perfect, but it's a hard act to follow coming up here, talking in front of heaps of people when you know that someone's like a Toastmaster that just come before me. But I appreciate your kōrero. I appreciate where you're at now and everything you've done. I asked those questions because I really wanted to find out, so I get some answers from you in that, because I really feel like you're knowledgeable, like way more knowledgeable than me. I didn't really get involved in every single facet of hip hop, just the rapping part. So I wouldn't know too much about the DJing or the b-boying, even the freestyling thing. I know this guy. Like, he's probably the first guy that I actually heard freestyle like this in a New Zealand context. But yeah, I kind of forgot what I was meant to say though, because there's not that much rangatahi in here. But yeah, I come from South Auckland, born and raised in South Auckland, Otara. My mother's from the Hokianga, I think close to where this guy's from, Pangaru, Ofanoni, and my dad is from a place called Achu and Moke, which are in the Cook Islands, so I'm half Cook Island as well. I've got a Pākehā blood in me. I'm unsure where that's from, which is crazy funny, because my grandma that was born in the islands, her father was a sailor. He came over to the islands and went back to his real family. But that's another story to tell. Hey, I think some of us are predisposed with a lot of the things that we get from our ancestors, and I think my dad got some of him, if you know what I mean. Yeah, so I'm an artist, rapper. I started my journey as a rapper when I was about 11 years old, listening to my older brother, whose name is Mr. Sick, write raps and do songs in there, and another fella named Face Killer, who unfortunately passed away some time ago. Those two guys to me, are the best rappers in Otara. I think I was just probably the most famous one out of the three of us, but they're like the big homies, you know, the OGs for me. We got Ermin as well, which is my brother and Face Killer's, you know, mentor, the guy that they looked up to. Yeah, so yeah, I'm struggling. Sorry. I'll just talk and see where I get to. So yeah, I started at 11, wrote my first rap, won my first talent quest at 12 with a group called the Murder Squad. We were little kids trying to rap in it, and one guy that I started rapping with, you might know, his name is Shay Milne. He's a producer slash presenter on Māori Channel. His daughter just recently won a Tui Award for a Māori song. Her name's Atareta. So me and him started together, and we just seen each other progress into who we are today, which is good to see. You're a hard act to follow, man. I should have went first. Like, now I'm like, fire up. Yeah, so at about 16, 17, I got signed to a record label that, you know, Woodcut Records. They had a sub-label called MTC, which Tyree, Deech and I were signed to, and a guy named Ethical was signed to. It was run by Kirk Harding, who's somebody that, I don't know, he worked with so many talented artists here, gave pretty much a lot of people their careers, I would say, in signing people and helping them out with producers and other artists, collaborating with them. I think he's had a big hand in a lot of people's success, from Savage to DJ Sir-vere, myself, Smash Proof, Decons, most of them. I'm kind of just skipping now, I'll give this guy a go. I'll grab my phone because I jotted some notes down on there, and I'll come back, okay? Aroha mai.
Kia ora koutou. He uri ahau no te whakatohea, tūhoi, me te raroa, Ngāpuhi. So yeah, basically I'm from, my dad's from the north, far north, and my mum's from the east coast, or Pōtuki. And yeah, my name is Pucky Dunn, aka Pucks, aka Pucks the General. I'm a MC / recording artist, I guess. So I came up under JC in the battle scene. So yeah, the battle thing, which most of the guys were doing when I started rhyming. So yeah, I came up under JC, and I was in those Australia, New Zealand battles that he put on, and yeah, it's kind of embarrassing looking at them now because I was only like 14, 15 when I first started entering the battles, and yeah, I remember when he first chose me to be on the first represent New Zealand. He actually rang me up, and it was a week of my school exams, and I was trying to get out of it, but he was like, "Bro, I really need you on the team, hey." So yeah, that was my first kind of thing. Yeah, I was only 15, and I did that. I think that was the 2005 or 2003, 2004 when Anecdote won. So I did the Australia New Zealand battles at 14, and then I battled again in the last Australia New Zealand battle, which was I think that was in 2005, and that was in Melbourne. And yeah, the Australians are really, really good at battling. I guess because they're like just natural kaka talkers, eh? So yeah, man, they just slayed us every year. But that last year that I was in it was actually, we had a New Zealand-Australia final. But yeah, they ended up winning anyway. But the guy that ended up winning that battle, he ended up going and winning the world battles, which was the Scribble Jam the next year. So, you know, yeah, justice. So I guess for us to be battling him, and like, he told us that he was heavily influenced by us. You know what I mean? So I guess that shows the kind of level that New Zealand battling was on, you know, like the first battle that I ever entered, David Dallas won it. And he was a guy here, that was like the first time he had come out, right, JC? Like nobody knew who he was. He just rocked up to the battle and slaughtered everybody. It was amazing. So yeah, and then I was like, man, this is my first battle. I thought I was gonna win. But yeah. So I did the whole battle scene, and yeah, my whole thing, what I was trying to do when I freestyle battled is I wanted to win the battles before I turned 18. So I did my last battle when I was 17, and I came third, and then I was like, all right, peace battling. So after that, in 2005, which was the last summer that was in Auckland, I did my first mixtape alongside my man's DJ Spell. He's pretty, he's doing his thing now. So yeah, so that was my first kind of foray as artist, and since then I've just tried to keep up the work rate. I did a whole lot of mixtapes, and then slowly I started getting into actually making music and actually trying to songwrite. So we did a gig. I'll shout out to my boys over here. I brought them with me. Like, so I didn't say actually I represent a hood called West Auckland. Like, we're kind of unknown in hip hop, you know what I mean? Like, we kind of like the underground up in Auckland. So yeah, I got me and my boys, my boy Infinite Rinster. He was a part, well, actually both of my boys over here, my boy Infinite Rinster and my boy Rivalus, they were actually a part of a group called Critical Methods. Alongside the Abbott, who the bro was talking about before, the Abbott was like, he was the guy when I was freestyle battling. He ended up winning the first battle I ever actually went to as a fan. He won that and became the national champion. I was like, yeah, this guy's from my hood. So yeah, so they're from the Abbott's crew. His crew was Critical Methods. And yeah, that was 20 years ago. My boys are still here with me now. You know, we out here still trying to do it and represent for our neighborhood. So, yeah, so, shit, I don't even know where I'm at. So, yeah, we did a gig back, oh, yeah,
I got a question for you, Parks.
yeah,
Honestly, I've been really impressed by you keep turning up, your artwork and your styling and
Yeah.
your productions just got better and better and better and better. And I've known you since you were a little big kid.
Yeah.
You were a big dude.
yeah,
So you were very young when we first met, but you still look like you were young. You were at the clubs at like crazy young age.
yeah,
But, you know, you persisted for so long. Like, honestly, that's a long time, dude. For you now, what's your dream? What's your big dream now? Like, what are you trying to forward? You know, for you, what's the ultimate now?
yeah, no. I've got the answer, bro. Honestly, my answer is just to create a legacy for my kids to look back at and be like, yeah, that's my dad, you know? My last kind of releases that I did last year, like they were heavily American featured, and I just wanted to show that yeah, we can mix with these Americans and we can rip them on songs too, man. You know, like America ain't the be all and end all of hip hop. There's a whole planet out there, you know, and we can hang with them just as much as people think that they're the pinnacle of the shit. Man, we can be the pinnacle too. You know what I mean? There ain't no limits out here. So yeah, like yeah, I hope that answers your question. Just to create a legacy, like for my kids to be proud of, I guess. Yeah, so yeah, I'll go back to where I left off. So yeah, my kind of first foray into, I guess, the recording industry. Me and the boys, we did a gig back in, when was the Tat North gig? 05. We did this gig out in the hood where my bro Rivalus is from. It was called Welcome to Tat North. There was a pretty infamous hood DVD of the whole night that was floating around the New Zealand hip hop scene. Yeah, see, he's seen that. That was floating around for a little bit. So yeah, we went and performed at that, and then after that, I actually found out that there was a record label that was there that night that had actually been looking for me. So it was like a friend's brother had started a record label, and he was like looking for me because he had heard about my stuff and he wanted to sign me. So yeah, this is some knowledge. If you ever sign to a record label, guys, don't know more people in the record industry than the guy running the label. I knew more people in the scene than the guy running the label did. So that was like a real big problem because he was asking me for my hookups. I was like, bro, I'm signed to you. You know what I mean? The boys know what I'm talking about. You know, we were going to places off my merit. So yeah, I was signed to those guys. They were my first record deal. Nothing actually ended up coming from it. And then I chilled a little bit and started like getting heavy into the mixtape scene, I guess. And then I had a plan to make I guess it was like my ultimate mixtape street album. And my goal was to use that as leverage to get me signed to a label. So I ended up doing that, and then yeah, I actually went on a tour of this guy's one of his mixtape tours, and his manager that was managing him, he said, "Oh yeah, I see some potential in you, but I want you to go and work with this guy who's running a record label." And he teed me up with a dude who was actually the guy that I recorded my first mixtape with. So he put me back in touch with the guy that I recorded my first mixtape with, and that was the beginning of my second kind of artistic run as a recording artist. And yeah, I've been with that dude ever since, and we've released 13 projects since 2013. So yeah, it's been a lot of work, but it's been good because I guess the more you do something, the more you record and stuff, the better you get at it. So yeah, I guess the experience has been priceless. So, yeah, I'll let the bro have another kōrero. Enough about me, man. Yeah, let the bro have another.
Shout out to Pucks for holding it down for me while I get myself organized with like this impromptu. So I'm gonna talk about my musical journey. Yeah, I got signed at 17 with Tyree and Deech. Kirk Harding was there, Aaron Christie, Juice. Juice was there, so we got signed. Tyree at the time was the leader of our group. So we did this mixtape, the mixtape that he mentioned. It was called Tales of the South Side. It was all American beats, all American accents as well. As young men, our influences are America, which I feel is not an excuse to be using the accent, but it's another thing. I'll mention that later on. We done a mixtape called Tales of the South Side. It did its thing throughout our neighborhood. The neighborhood, Otara, South Auckland, reached to West Auckland. I think it reached a few places in Aotearoa. And that's what gave us a bit of street cred in terms of our hip-hop journey, our rap journey. Then we went on to do 2 albums. One was a Tyree album. And at the time, it was all, our label was focusing on Tyree. So they sent him to New York to record like half of his album with beats by like Cochise and a few other American artists over there. Then he flew back with this amazing album, and he also got funding to go shoot a video clip in Canada with Cardinal Official. If you guys don't know who that is, he's a huge artist and one of Canada's OGs anyway, in terms of rap and hip hop. So we all went over there. So I was lucky to tag along and be in this video clip with him. And then from there, they sent me to New York to record my album called The Truth with Cochise. So I spent one whole week in New York recording that whole album, and then I came back. And when I came back, I had this like, I don't know, Superman cape over me. Like, I just been to America. Like, I'm the man now. I'm a young man with not a lot of maturity, as you could say. So, and I was in Otara, a neighborhood that is beautiful, but depending on who you hang around with and who you've grown up with, it could be a bit, I don't know, detrimental to you as a person and everything that you learn. So I went back with this cape, thought I was the man, hanging out with, the boys who are still my friends now and my family and all that. And so I continued to hang there. I didn't really branch off and go hang around with anyone from the industry or try to hang around with other artists around this country and stuff like that. I was too, I guess, stuck in my ways of just hanging with the people that I love and my community. So I struggled to actually be approachable. As you can see now, I still struggle with it. But I ended up like picking my nuts up, meeting different people that didn't come from where I come from, and I learned from them, and I learned how to actually be approachable and probably how to kind of talk properly, you know. And that was a struggle in itself for me, because yeah, you'd see me at a club, and I'll just be by myself with like two other people. I wouldn't try and go shake anyone else's hands in that, because probably had anxiety issues or something like that. But so yeah, so The Truth come out, and I wasn't expecting any type of success as a young man. Like I didn't really care as long as my neighborhood liked me, as long as my friends are all cool with me, and that's all I cared about. And then the album started, you know, doing some numbers. I was getting some success off it, and then I knew that at that time I had to either try and be an artist instead of be a street person and travel this country and talk to people and, you know, just, like I said, just be approachable. So I had to learn that way, and I struggled with that. I really struggled with it, man. Like, I struggled to come to terms with, I had to, like, go and talk to people, like, hey, what's up, man? I'm set up. I hated that shit, for real. I don't mind it now. But I knew then I had to do it so that we can sell records, or I can continue to do this as my hobby, as my passion. Don't get me wrong, I didn't just do hip hop. I was working in a factory through all the albums that we made. So I wasn't just doing music, I was in a factory. And the funny story is, when I was 18, 19, 20, I sold weed as well, just to have a bit of money in my pocket and pay for my birthdays and my 21st that I paid for. I got my whole family, and I shouted everybody with weed money. And that's something that I don't condone now as a grown, a mature man. But back then, that's pretty much the job that my family was showing me to take as well. But I actually liked working and getting legal money. But this was just a hustle on the side to help me pay for the things that I wanted, opposed to just paying for my rent and my food, you know? So I did that. And then later on, in the same year, I did a song with Colorway called Put Your Colors On, which gained a lot of attention throughout this whole country, all for probably the wrong reason. And I think the media tried to drag me which is fair enough. Like you wouldn't want to see somebody from New Zealand talking about the stuff that Americans talk about that were actually happening in this neighborhood. You don't want to hear that. The mainstream don't want to hear that type of shit because to them it's kind of influencing people from this country or people in the poor communities to be like young Sid, you know. But the Truth album and Put Your Colors On and everything that I was saying in those songs were actually happening in my community and your community too. Like in the poor communities of this country, this shit happens, man. There's gangsters in every part of this country that I think at the time New Zealand were trying to like act like they don't have that here because our country is so beautiful. It is beautiful, but then you got your dark parts as well that you need to shed some light on so it's not as dark anymore, right? And like, I think the situation has just gotten worse, but back to what I was saying. So I did Put Your Colors On, the media tried to drag me. I lost a lot of shows. I had heavy police scrutiny everywhere because everybody thought I was a killer bee. I think everyone in this country thought I was a killer bee. But these are just people that I grew up with. And to be honest, my old man was a tribesman, patch member when I was a little kid. So with all of these things happening, it's for anyone looking in, they'll say, oh, this guy's just a fucking a tribee or killer bee. So, you know? So all of that happened, right? They tried to drag me, heavy scrutiny, all of that sort of stuff. And then the year after that, Smash Proof dropped a song called Brother. And it does its number. It was a big song at that time. I think 11 weeks at number 1 in the consecutive run, which is the biggest song still to this day now. But I know Scribes had the most number ones, but not in the consecutive run. So that happened, and then the media wanted to be my friend again. It's
How did that song come together? Because it has, you know, a real strong meaning behind what happened with that young tagger and
Yeah.
Sir-vere and stuff. And how did that concept come together? Was it just because it just come together? Or?
I came off an idea to call it, to personify the neighborhood that I come from, called Brother, and call it Brother. But I wanted to do it to a kind of like a Dr. Dre beat, like a fucking Still Dre. Like I wanted to do it like that. But then the beat came, a beat like the one that Brothers On came, and I was like, oh, maybe we should do it to this, and then we'll talk about what's happening in our neighborhoods at this time.
And what about, when did Jin was more come to it?
Oh,
I didn't know, like when because I used to jam and stuff on the door and mix hip hop shows, so I knows what it is, back in the day, and like the thought of Jin like doing a collab with you guys didn't really, but when I heard the song, you know, it actually made me real emotional. I was like,
Yeah.
thinking of this poor kid, you know, just doing some shit that kids do, and then some white guy chases him down the road with a knife and then jabs him. You know, and I thought, you know, how did like Jin get involved in the concept of
Oh, Jin came about through Universal. They had Jin writing songs and all of that, and I think they had the intentions of making her a star, which she became anyway. And we already had the chorus and all that already done, and they were like, how about we put this young singer on here? Maybe it might give it some legs, and it did, man. It did. Oh, no, I didn't mind. I didn't mind because like I didn't like the song anyway because it was poppy. Like you know, I didn't like it. I honestly thought me and the boys honestly thought that it wasn't going to do anything because it wasn't the type of style that we actually liked, you know. And then when she was on it, it gave it new life. We're like, holy shit, we can do something with this, eh? And but back to the whole idea of the song, yeah. So I came up with this idea of the song. Tyree and Deech, Tyree came with the chorus. We were all like in the same room, wrote the song. We just wanted to give our perspective of what South Auckland is to us as individuals, and it just so happened that Tyree, who had the verse that like kind of captured everybody, with the boy getting Cameron getting chased and stabbed by a Pākehā fella. So I had that, and what else he say? At the time, I think a dairy owner got stabbed as well. So he had all of that in his verse, which like everyone gravitated towards that. In my verse, I was just talking about like it was like an NWA style of any kids in it, or F the police, like, just based off what I've seen as a young person, seeing police come inside my house with warrants and take my brothers and, you know, family away and all that sort of shit. I know they're just doing their job at the time. As a mature adult, I can see that they're just doing their job. But as a young man, I'm like, nah, F the police. They're not helping us. Like, that's what it is. That's what it was, and that's what it is like for a lot of people that come from the community that I come from, and more.
Can I ask you a question, bro?
Yeah, bro.
I've got a follow-up question as well, but I guess for me and probably, you know, thousands of other rappers in New Zealand, like looking at you guys' success back there, could you talk to like the young people that are in this generation and tell them what a record deal looks like for you back then? And also, had you signed a deal before or after Brother, and how did that impact your, like, you know, moving forward? Was it a per album deal, or was it like a,
Yeah, yeah. So when I signed my deal, I was lucky. I was still at high school, and at the time I was doing legal studies. So I kind of had like a little taste of what you need to be doing when a contract comes to your face. So I went and took my contract to a lawyer with my weed money. You know what I mean? Like,
you paid the retainer, eh?
yeah. So I took it to a lawyer, and he changed it. He changed some bits of it, and then the label ended up giving all three of us the same deal, which was a 3-album deal, and that was all signed before the Truth album, before Tyree's album, and all that sort of stuff. And
So was that formatted to include your publishing and stuff like that?
yeah, it was formatted to include all of that as well. And just in saying that, my label's done good things for us. Like, we have like a deal where it was like I think it was like a 20% or 80% or something like that for like both your performances and stuff, but they let us keep 100% of our performances, and any endorsements we get, like, didn't go to the label, came straight to us. So that's a cool thing.
Lost now.
Yeah.
We're in the era where publishing and writing credits are the currency of the industry, right? Not so much physical sales, because no one buys physical CDs anymore. So for you guys, I guess, having that 20% or having that 80% control as well, did that transfer over to the music as well?
Yeah, for me, I'm quite fortunate that I got a piece of MTC. They gave me 25% after the Truth album came out, so I'm quite lucky that I can get money off of everyone's stuff, which is pretty stink for the boys. They're like, hey, bro. But it's not like we're making millions of dollars anyway. It's not like, but still, yeah.
Yeah, you never know what a song's going to do down the track.
Oh, hard out, and like something might happen. I might get picked up somewhere, and then hard out. Like David Dallas' song got put on that movie, man. So he's away, you know. But did that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Yeah.
Fuck, where was I after that?
Carry on, sorry.
Oh, hold up. Talking about the Brother song, eh? We did the Brother song, and the media wanted to do more interviews with me. I was like, nah, fuck that. I'm not doing any more interviews with you guys, man. You guys drag me. So, like, you know, I'm from the streets. Like, you don't do that. Like, you don't like be disrespectful to somebody and then expect it to be all good. That relationship is finished. So I just pretty much let Tyree and Deech do all the interviews and that, or I just wouldn't turn up. Or like, oh, yeah, I'm coming and I won't turn up. And that's probably bad. That's a bad attitude to have. Bad for business, you know. So that happened, and then on the same year, my old lady passed away, and that was probably the like that question that you gave to JC, that's the biggest shit that happened in my life at that time. I felt like I had everything going this way. I was going to New York all the time. I was almost going to get signed to like French Montana's label and stuff like that. There was like label wars and stuff over me, and that happened. And then fuck, I just like plummeted. It was a wrap. Like, I didn't care about this music shit anymore. And I think if that didn't happen, I don't think I would be living here in New Zealand. I probably would have been over there, making some money. But at the same time, some things need to happen for you to like mature, and that's probably the thing that which is fucking sad to say, but probably needed to happen just for myself to mature. What song is that? Nah, no. Yeah, nah, cheers, Thank you for breaking the ice, though. I was almost about to cry. But yeah, so that happened, and on the same year, so I have this massive success with Smash Proof, and at the same time, my old lady passes away. And that whole year, because my old lady passed away of cancer, and fuck cancer, by the way. And so I was thinking about that the whole entire year, so I didn't really get the chance to enjoy the success of what Smash Proof was having at that time. And for the group, for Smash Proof, it probably showed because I wasn't really interested in much things. Like I was able to mask it and go and perform at these shows, and the interviews that I did do, I was able to do them, but I was masking all this hurt and all this pain at that time, and I couldn't really enjoy the success and being the, and I wasn't trying to be the front man of the group, but it was obvious to the country who it was at that time, just based off the success of the Truth album. And like, so the fans and all of that will come running to me, going like this to the boys to hold the phone and take a photo of me and the fan, which was pretty sad for your crew. Like, you're in a crew of 3, and the fans telling them to hold the phone and take the photo with me and the fan. That's sad, like, but I didn't care. I was going through my thing, so I was like, yeah, sweet. And then getting cheeky to tie a teacher about it, like, you know what I mean? That's pretty mean to do. And you guys we're both on the same level. We both come in this shit together. We're all successful together. And then here's me going through my things and being a dick to my mates. You know what I mean? So yeah, and that all came from just my old lady dying, and I know for them it didn't really feel right me doing that sort of shit. But fuck, I couldn't help it, man. I couldn't help it, man, being like a sad guy to my mates. But at the same time, there was the jealousy and stuff going on within the group. Like, some people in the group felt like they needed to be the front man. I didn't care. Like, go hard. Go hard. This is yours. We're all the same. We're all the same. But some of the guys found it hard to, I don't know, fathom not being the star of the crew, which really hurt the crew. So, yeah, fuck. Where was I going again? I was just rambling, but hopefully you guys get what I meant. So we had the problems and all that sort of shit. My old lady passed away, so I had to deal with that. I was quite fortunate, not fortunate, but lucky enough to have What Doesn't Kill Me, that album pretty much 90% done before my old lady passed away. And then I wrote a song called Never Waste a Day, like pretty much after it, but I was wasting so much time. I just needed to put something out there to try and help like other people apart from myself. I felt like I needed more help than ever, but I wasn't getting it, so I would write something to help other people out. If that makes sense to you, I know somebody that go through some hurt, they want to help other people, but not really take on their hurt themselves. I think it's just a way to try to escape it. And for years after that, I didn't bring out an album. My last album I brought out was in 2010. I didn't bring out anything else after that, like as an album. I brought out singles, drips and drabs of singles in that, but not really an album. I know that I was hurting for that whole entire time. It didn't take me till having my son in like 2014, where I actually let go of all the, you know what I mean? Yeah. So they're little.
On that, do you think,
Yo.
do you think, looking back then, like, you know, I haven't been around quite a bit back then, and we were all just getting on the piss, like just crazy out the gate, like drinks were just big piss up. Like, alcohol played such a huge part.
Yeah.
And I think the difference, like, it's listening to you talk now, like, I didn't know that shit was, I knew that your mum passed, but I didn't know that that shit was going on for you so heavy. But do you think it comes down to the language? Like, that back then we didn't really have the language to help each other, or like, you know, or describe what it was we were going through at the time. So it's so hard to be like, trying to be there for your mates, but you don't actually know how to talk to them, you know?
Yeah, exactly that. Like it's probably because I think that if you haven't been through it yourself, like what I'm going through, then it'll be hard for me to actually take what you're saying as face value. Like, bro, you haven't been through what I've been through. What can you say to me? You know, it'll probably be a bit of that and a bit of the boys just want to enjoy their life, man, and they just want to enjoy their success. Like, that's it, really. That's how I see it. It's a mental health issue that doesn't get spoken about that much. Even back then, I didn't even know what mental health was, to be honest, man. Like, fuck, and when I think about it, there's so much of that shit going on back then, even before that, like the trauma of life, you know, growing up in these communities and you know, all of that shit. So yeah, I kind of stopped, like, I kind of got a bit emotional, and fuck, I feel like I don't want to like carry on the rest of my corridor, because it's a bit hurtful. It's shit I really need to get over, hey. Oh yeah, I had my son. I've got two kids now. My son's 8 and my daughter's 6. And they brought me back to life. They made me start enjoying life. I had something to look forward to. Had a why. Had what do I call it? I had drive again. But I also needed to go and make some consistent income. So I got into. I'm a line mechanic, a glove and barrier line mechanic, which is somebody that works on the power lines and that. I've been doing that for 8 years. And like he was saying, do you have a dream? Do you have a dream? My dream was really just to be present in my kids' life. To show them that they do have to work hard and they got to work on their mental health. They got to exercise. They got to get educated, like a lot of these things, but I'm also teaching them that they can go for their dreams as well, just like I had, you know. I had a dream at 11 years old to become a rapper with an album out at 20, and I did that at 21, so I'm quite lucky that I actually lived my dream as a young man, you know. And then new things happen, and you get new dreams, and there's new things that you want to do, and yeah, so I'm fortunate enough to get a job, and that's through my my wife's dad. He actually hooked me up for a job. I still had to do the interview process. I still had to learn the trade, so it's not like I got given all these skills and all this knowledge at the same time as getting a job. I still had to learn all these. And the next thing on my list to do that I'm currently doing, I'm doing a psychology and counseling paper. Just to see what I can do, like with it, you know. And probably just for myself, I need to try to, figure myself out. But it is helpful. It's something that I'm passionate about. Is mental health. Hopefully, I can get a job, and hopefully, I can speak as well as JC. Probably gonna need that card and that training, man, like later on. But yeah, I think that's me. That's it. I wish I had more like prep. I actually did have prep, but I should have done it. Could have done what he did and fucking hell did it. Yeah. But anyway, sweet. Hey. Yeah. Cool, man. Nah, sweet as, man. I appreciate you guys bringing me down, especially Danny O and Farid. Oh, it tells on the show. Man, that's $1 million right there. That's that shit. I need to buy back, like. But yeah, that What Doesn't Kill Me album was written, I think, when I was at my lowest point. And if you go and listen to it, you can hear everything that I just said now, like about that time period of my life. Yeah, I'm in a better place now, but still, when I think back, these emotions come up. But that's all good. That brings me to the end of my corridor. If you guys got any questions on that, go hard. Yeah. Oh man, I think for one, we really need mentors, like good mentors, solid mentors, and I mean, it's the same advice, just like finding something inside of you that makes you happy and makes you able to open up and talk about what's going on in your life. I was quite lucky I had music. I could rap music. What doesn't kill me? I had that to talk to if I didn't have anyone else. And I didn't know what mental health was anyway at that time, so I had music. But yeah, there's that. There's even for somebody that can probably see somebody going through something, it's good to ask a question, ask how they're going, see if they're okay. Ask these open questions to get more information out of them, because there's a stigma on both sides for people with a mental illness in there. People are like, oh, he's crazy and all that sort of shit. And then for the person that it is affecting, they don't want to be a burden on the other person if they open up. So we kind of got to figure out how to take this on board, but not take it on board, if that makes any sense. Like, take it on board enough for you to be able to not take it all in, you know what I mean, and deal with it yourself. You kind of have to take it and offload it somewhere. I don't really know how to do that. I'm learning it now. But yeah, if that answered your question. Yeah, man. We got one up there? Yeah. Damn, these heaps. One thing I would say is keep going with music. There's going to be rough times and shit like that, but keep going. You're gonna be in a better position. Be open. Meet new people. Be respectful. I know that's hard for people that come from my communities to be at their age, between 12 and 25 or whatever, because it's what they see. They see their parents acting like that, so they're obviously going to do the same thing. Yeah, nah, cheers, man. I should have more. When I go away from this, I'm going to be like, I could have said this, I could have, shit. Yeah, hold up. Oh, this is called The Downside. I got this from Lay Syke, who's an artist from Otahuhu in South Auckland. He's an upcoming artist. Lay Syke. Yeah, yeah. L-A-Y, not L-A-C-Y-K-E. Yeah. He's a Tongan fella from Otahuhu. Yeah. I'm a poster boy for him. Shout out Lay Syke. Thanks for the t-shirt. Any more? Yeah. Future for me is just to get my diploma in psychology and counseling. Get that. Hopefully it leads to another career. I initially wanted to do this just to help my people. I've got this idea in my mind that I can give fucking free counseling to the people in my neighborhood that need it, because it's expensive, like therapy and all that sort of shit. I know I'll probably need to go get a psychology degree if this is all good. You know, if I get this pretty easy, which I probably will, because I'm passionate about it, and all the modules for me are pretty easy. Yeah, so that's my next step, and that's it. And just continue to be a dad to my kids and a faithful husband. You know. Yo.
You still get the urge to write?
Oh, bro, I still write, man. I write a rap like every month, almost, or 4 bars every few days. Like, I still write, but it's not like I'm not writing to compete with anybody. I'm not writing to make hits, or I'm just writing.
What drives you to write?
Hey?
Like, what drives you to write? When you get those ideas and those urges,
Yeah.
is there anything in particular that drives you to write?
Oh,
Just life?
it could be anything, yeah, but mainly it's just life, and then what I see, and I've got this thing where I wish my whole community can come with me. So I think about them when I write, so I can write to help people and, you know, get them onto that level of, like, where their vibrations are. I'll try to raise people's vibration, that's all, and get them to think about what they're doing and the consequences of what could possibly happen if they choose this or that. Yeah, that's what drives me to write. Yeah. Yeah.
Had us before in Whānau. Work with young people, do you have any advice for people who are mentors to young people and like, I don't know, supporting their heart for it or like things to keep in mind when you're kind of young people?
I think it's a process. Having the patience, and I mean like if you do have the heart for it and helping rangatahi, being patient with them, trying to figure out what they actually like to do, and then try get them to do more of that. Pretty much what JC was talking about. When you have a dream, like go for it. Like that's something. Like if we ask the question to it, I'm gonna tell you, what do you like doing? And if he likes climbing, like you can try to set them up with like a line mechanic job as an example. Like they climb poles all the time. They like if they like stealing cars and that mechanic. Like man, there's things that I mean it's funny, but it's not. You know, it's like. Pro, it's like, yeah, man, you transfer those skills into something that you can get paid for. I'm quite lucky because as a young person, I did go through the youth system. I got put into a youth group, police. You know, I got like caught doing something stupid, arson, stealing, and all that sort of stuff as a young man, as a 10, 11, 12-year-old, with no proper parental guidance or curfews and stuff like that growing up. So I got put into a youth thing, and I think that's where it kind of changed my life and my perspective on what I wanted to do as a man, as a grown up. Because they took me out of Otara every week to go play spacies, go to the city. They even took me on my first camp, like that sort of stuff that people from the hood don't really get to do or get to see. And I think for me, it made me want more, made me think about what else is out there. It's just like when I went to the States for the very first time, or Australia for the very first time. I'm like, oh wow, this is a whole different place. This is a movie, and you know what? I like it. So it's like, fuck, I'm gonna do whatever I can to just try to keep my passport, you know, and just learn and get new experiences. And that's another thing, yeah, for people, young people, for anyone really, is just try and get new experiences and shit, because that's what I think life is about, new experiences, more than just money. I know you need money to pay your bills and stuff, but it's not like for me, I don't give a shit about being rich. I don't care about that. I care more about experiences for myself and for my children. And that's it, man. Yeah. Like, I think I rambled on hard out, but you know. Shit. Yeah.
We're at the hip hop summit, obviously, so putting life to the side, let's just talk about the pen game.
Yeah.
So, like, your pen game.
Your pen game is me.
No.
No, your pen game is me. Your pen game is me.
From one MC to another, you are definitely top 5 greatest like writers, like in New Zealand history. Absolutely, hands down.
Thanks, bro.
Without a
Appreciate
doubt.
that.
And that's only my personal opinion, and art is subjective, obviously.
Yeah.
But I want to know from you, like, who influenced that pen for you early on? Like, who was the guy that, like, who were the cats that you looked at and were like, I want to write like that? Like, you know, I know that we're often, inspired by what we see and stuff.
Yeah.
But obviously, as an MC, also you're also inspired by other lyricists. So,
Oh, pretty obvious. Tupac,
yeah.
Scarface. Scarface probably my number one. Brad Jordan. Just because he knows how to tell a story. He knows how to get you involved. He knows how to trigger your emotions and stuff like that. And plus, he writes about stuff that at the time applied to my life. It's what I like. Yeah, The Fix is probably my favorite album, like all-time favorite album. Yeah, Tupac, Bone Thugs and Harmony. Bone Thugs and Harmony. I didn't really get into the whole East Coast thing up until like 2004, 2005, when I was actually trying to write lyrics. Otherwise, it was just fucking gangster rap type shit, for ages. But yeah, those are my go-to. Bro, even if I'm feeling down, bro, I'll play Scarface. I'll play the Fix album, bro. Like, so much gems in that. Yeah. Yep.
What advice would you give young people who are feeling
know what you mean. I know what you mean, and it's like I wish I had a really good answer for that because that's something that I probably needed. I got that through growth, just from maturing from a young man and plus wanting to continue to do music and I had attitude problems. So I've had all of these things that's probably what you're talking about. I was just lucky that, I don't know, through traveling and my experience with traveling and a few good people that were my culture, I was able to, I don't know, be approachable and, yeah, sorry man, I can't really help you with that answer.
No, I think you already expressed that your experience is what you're talking about. I think
Yeah.
that, like, welcoming it, going into the experiences and
Yeah, I know it's hard for some people, especially if you're standoffish and all you want to do is hang with your friends, like I said earlier. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta put yourself out there. I think some people got a fear of being like judged as well. That's a hard one, especially being brown people. Even Pākehā brothers and sisters probably get it too. But being brown is a hard thing, just in itself. Like growing up in a city is hard. I don't really feel like that's something that our ancestors would want us to be doing, living in a city. But that's another topic. Hey, it's a long conversation. But yeah. Yeah.
Are you still doing music? Like, I want to hear your growth. Like, are you still doing that?
I'm still writing music, but in terms of an album and stuff like that, I'm probably yeah, it's not at the top. It's not at the top of my list. Yeah. Like I was saying to the bro here, I'm still writing. I still write music in there, and I still have this idea that I'm gonna bring out an album or some music, but then it doesn't eventuate. I've got music. I got like, I don't know, 60, 70 songs or part songs there, as any artist would have, stuck in the studio that probably never see the light of day. So yeah, I don't know, bro. To be honest. Yeah.
Top 5 New Zealand rappers. Let's go beside you first.
What is it? Is it based on? Oh, there's like yeah. I don't know. I'll go Face Killer. I'll go Mr. Sick because he put me on. I'll go Tom Scott. Definitely him. I don't be sting to some people though. Wait, if it's top 5.
Yeah. I was going to ask you that, then I didn't.
Yeah.
There's so much more than 5.
I know. There's so many, man. There's so many. I really like Mellow Downs. Maybe for this era, yeah, I'll put him in the top 5 for like this era. I'll put who else was there? Like Diggy Dupe, I'll put him in there. Like cause they're commercial and I always hear them. But in terms of like body of work, probably yeah. I reckon Tom Scott, man, like as my number 1 in terms of body of work, cause fuck, he's amazing, eh? He comes from a mature perspective, and I'm like, when I listen to that shit, I'm like, oh fuck, I need to stop doing like party songs and shit. But I don't do those songs, but you know what I mean. Like, I really need to give knowledge like this. I love his pen game. Yeah. I don't know, bro. Yeah, I don't know. There's so much good rappers, and there's so much. Yeah, talented guys, but in terms of body of work, that's what I want to base it on. Because I could even take Face Killer out of that, because he doesn't have a body of work. But in terms of top rappers, that inspired me the most from here is him and Mr. Sick. But yeah, have we got any more? You want to call it a day?
Thanks, brother.
Nah.
Well, you're not going to introduce me?
I'll introduce you. Chief, I know. Day number 7. Next up is probably one of my, kia ora. This could be a little, probably one of my favourite old school club DJs. Had the pleasure of having him in the house with us last night, and I looked down and here he is digging through his crates. He's still carrying around his vinyl. Super proud of you, Sticky, and just blessed to have you here with us today. Make some noise.
Kia ora. All right. No mai haere mai, piki mai, kaki mai, ki te whakarongo mai. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa, ko Brad Warrington tēnei, aka DJ Sticky Fingaz. Far out, where does my journey start with hip hop? I think my journey starts with Poirier, and the reason that is because the highlight for me was the dude in the white glove that came out, and I was just like, man, this is the coolest dude. What is this? You know, I didn't have any idea, and of course, Poirier being kind of like Māori disco, it wasn't like traditionally hip hop, but it was that, and then Aerosmith and Run DMC, and I was always like, yeah, Aerosmith's all right, but the highlight is Run DMC coming in and rapping and the breakbeat and all that. You know, music was my escape. I grew up in a pretty shit family situation. Excuse me, it's still quite hard to talk about. Dad's mental health, alcoholism. I was like the whipping boy, you know, like the youngest, and, you know, he took out his frustrations and shit on me. And he tried to kill himself by hanging himself in the garage, and I was the only one home. Sorry. I was just thinking, Sid's worried about crying. Wait till I get on, bro. Yeah. So that happened, and I felt lost, disconnected. He actually convinced in the '88 to set me to stay care. Jeez, seems full on now, but like, yeah. So I ended up in state care for 10 weeks. Yeah, it was shit. Thankfully, nothing like shitty happened, like as far as what, you know, the state care stuff that's happening in the media now. But yeah, it was full on for me, and I felt abandoned and all those things, and yeah. And music was my escape. I'd like barricade myself in the room and play anything that made me feel better. And yeah, I got my first stereo in like '93 and brought a Rage Against the Machine, Killing in the Name of, and you know, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me kind of thing. And Cypress Hill, Black Sunday. Let's get my composure. Yeah, so the hip hop thing came like, I was going to basketball, right? You know, basketball and hip hop is strongly related. And yeah, all the New Jack Swing they were playing at the basketball games, it was like Targa Nuggets in Dunedin. At that stage, I was living in Dunedin. And I just remember like Leonard King, the import at the time, turning up in this little car and that, and it's like boom, boom. I've never heard the bass before on my little stereo at home, and I was like, damn, what is that? And it wasn't until 2 years later I got the Cypress Hill album, and I was like, yeah, pretty much. I didn't even smoke weed at that stage, you know. Had it on high rotate, you know, hits from the bong, and I really didn't know what fucking hits from the bong was, eh? And yeah, so I moved to Christchurch, because I started off my life in Christchurch. I lived in Woolston on Ferry Road, and I would have actually gone to Linwood High if I had stayed in Christchurch, but Dad was moved around heaps with his work. He was a postmaster, so we always bounced around. I went to like 9 different primary schools. You know, I was dyslexic. I got to, you know, I felt lost, and I felt all these different things that wasn't good enough, and, you know, all the classic stuff that you kind of go through as you're growing up and you don't have an identity. And yeah, came to Christchurch, got involved in the dance scene, right? So, you know what comes with the dance scene, it's the drug scene. So because I didn't know how to deal with my shit that I had been, my dad's baggage that he'd given to me, I was just on it. Like, it didn't matter what it was. It wasn't meth first, because meth wasn't around then. It wasn't heroin, obviously, because that seemed too full on, but it was everything else, like anytime, anywhere, you know. And I'd go to these dance parties, and I actually started working on dance parties with, like, because I was friends with people who were putting on gigs. So I was basically just go there and do anything, you know, be an odd help out, you know, be a runner. Then I moved up and I helped starting to organise stuff. And, you know, I kind of, and in the meantime, I was also wanting to get into TV and radio and stuff. And I actually remember when I was 9, I was like, I want to be in radio. Because my great-grandfather was a broadcaster for the 2ZB, and we had this photo on the wall of him on the back of an elephant doing a live cross. And I was always like, man, that's cool. One day I might be on an elephant doing a live cross. And, you know, so like those seed was sowed really early. And then I applied for broadcasting school twice here in Christchurch, denied both times, obviously because I was dyslexic pretty much, and like writing and doing that kind of, you know, application thing was like almost foreign to me. Yeah, I got denied twice, and I was just like, you know, maybe it's not for me. Maybe it's not. And then I started doing work on What Now, just doing, you know, extra stuff and dressing up and like Austin Powers kind of piss takes and, you know, promos for the show and all this kind of stuff. And I got to meet these 3 people, Mel Troy, Michelle Healy, and James Brownlee. Together, we applied for this role on this TV ad for Starmart. And little did I know is that, you know, we did our video together, you know, it's the 4 of us, and they only picked me out of it. And I was like, oh, that's stink buzz for them. Sort of like TMC with the whole, like, taking photos and the other guys that kind of getting left out. So I felt ultra, like, gutted that I was kind of like, yeah, cool. We're about to go to Auckland and do all these TV ads, but stink, because my mates who helped me, and we used the facilities at TVNZ to cut the video. It was out there video. It was about being adventurous, and like at the time, the people who were putting on the ads, Silver Screen Productions, like people were like bungee jumping in their videos and all this other shit, being adventurous, riding their bikes down hills, and then there was us dressed up as like, I think I was dressed up as Wurzel Gummidge or something, like a homeless guy trying to make it in life and that. So they thought that it was quite out the gate. So anyway, long story short, I ended up doing these ads, and Jermaine Clement was on the ads with me. So yeah, he is not doing that much now compared to me. This flight at the Concords, eh? And I just remember just hanging with him, and I thought to myself, fuck, I can do anything. You know, I've been handed this shit by my dad, and at that stage, I'd like, nah, can't deal with you, Dad. Like after Dad tried to kill himself, I was just like, nah, that's it. This was like 94. It wasn't until my brother got us back together in 2011 that, you know, not that it went the way I wanted it to, because he was like, oh, let's not talk about what happened. And I was like, nah, let's talk about what happened, you douchebag. And like, it's real weird because like my love for him just decreased, but yeah, it was all this mental health stuff, all this drug shit going on for me, and I was doing these dance parties, and the hip hop thing was always the highlight. It was always like, yeah, this is shit. Beats and pieces at the gathering, DJ Pause, rapping and popping at the same time. It was like, little did I know that guy was actually going to be one of my mentors and like one of my good mates. And I was just like, this guy's out of it character. And of course there was Ants Man, Hamey Hame, and I listened to Beats and Pieces, and then obviously Main Source after. But because I, like with this whole TV thing, the reason I'm telling you is because it gave me this drive. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to be a rapper because I am shit at rapping. So what can I do? I can be a DJ. And I think 2000, I brought my first set of turntables off my mate. And then I started hanging out with Richie Mills, and Danger, Dane Rahui, and also C-Pops if he's around. Oh, he's over here. Yeah, but these guys just like nurtured me. I mean, like Richie would meet up with Raw. I remember this one time, Raw, King Cats was in town and Raw and that were doing a gig. We went to the gig and then afterwards went back to my house and then like Raw came back with his 07, came up and plugged it in up in my bedroom. I had this massive bedroom on the top of the story. It's an awesome place. And yeah, he just cut it up. I wanted to quit after, right? I was just like, damn, this guy, he's an absolute beast on the cut. And I was just like, there's no way I'm going to get to this level. And yeah, it's true, I didn't get to his level. But yeah, it was the real turning point though was 2001. Obviously, I'd been dealing drugs and, you know, like Sid said, just wanted money. You know, I didn't want to work full time. Got involved with some dodgy cats. You know, when you're doing street shit, you end up, you know, people talk about being gangsters. You're only a gangster until you have to do gangster shit. And like, I had to actually go and stand over people who owed me money. not obviously you look at me, good one, Sticky, you're not going to be standing over anyone. It's because I took people with me that looked like they could fuck you up. And I just remember going to this house, and this guy was like, owed me $1,000. And I was like, he's a big dude, he's like 6'5". And I had my mates with me, and I was just like, I had like, you know, Superman complex, because I owed money to this guy who was, you know, putting pressure on me to pay him. This guy owed me $1,000, and I punched him pretty hard out. He paid me the next day, but it didn't make me feel good. It made me realize that, you know, if I don't get out of this shit, I'm gonna go down. And that's what happened. I got raided by the cops, kicked open my door. It was pretty bad. And they were like, you're dealing ecstasy and all this shit. They had all these accusations, and someone had knocked me out. So yeah, that was a turning point. It was like, you know, either I'm gonna go down this way, it's gonna end up bad for some reason. Either I'm gonna get stood over, or I'm gonna end up in jail, or I'm gonna be, you know, go the hip hop way. And thankfully, you know, I went the hip hop way. And I don't want to say some cheesy shit like it saved my life, but it really did. It really made me feel like I had a place and a purpose. So, you know, how do you get good? Well, you start turntablism. And like, I wanted to be good. Richie said to me like a while ago, actually started, he was like, the thing about you, used to annoy me about you, Brad, was like, you want to be good straight away. And I was like, I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be, you know, accepted in the family. And the only way you can do that, if you don't have the history, is by being a bad man, either on the mic, graffiti, breakdancing, or DJing. So I did actually put in a lot of hours, and doors opened for me in 2003 when I won Technology, which is the RDU competition. Fortunately, they kicked the guys off the beatdown on RDU really unceremoniously, which led to them being off me. So I rocked in, started the Dollar Mix Hip Hop show, and we used it as a platform. I always thought to myself, you know, being Ngāti Pākehā in the hip hop world, I've got to use my privilege to give everyone opportunity to you know, to be part of something, to use a platform and the radio show to give people opportunity, even if I thought they weren't really up to scratch. And I thought it's not my place to like control the space. You know, this is space for minority groups, and here I am rocking in as a Pākehā. Yeah, that's what I thought to myself. I've got to be real careful here, not to be like taking over and, you know, white-splaining, as I like to call it, hip-hop to, you know, minority groups and people of colour in that. And I don't think at the time I was really hard out aware of that, but as I look back, I was actually like, yeah, well, that's actually what I did. I didn't feel like, you know, because I always thought like hip-hop and that was a thing for coloured people. But, you know, peace, love and unity, as Zulu Nation say, it's, you know, one people under one groove. So I actually put that shit behind me and was like, stop thinking about that, you know, you're over-analysing it. But I did use my whiteness for the connections that I had in the club, you know, because people were more willing to hook me up, I think, because I was Pākehā. And a lot of the club owners Pākehā. But I'd bring people along with me. I'd always say, well, okay, if we're going to do a gig here, then we'll get Danger, we'll get Pause, we'll get Ali, you know. And Ali set the standard high here, man. When we came in, I was like, fuck, he's the pinnacle, is what I want to hit the way that, the respect that he had universally in the city and in New Zealand. Yeah, man. And then I went to the DNCs, and you just get that from the community. You get the respect that you, even though like there's no bones about it. I wasn't top three really, you know, but I was doing my thing, and I was getting better and better and better, and like I really thrived in a club environment because I felt like being a extroverted introvert. I could be extroverted, but I'm behind the turntables, so I don't really have to fucking conversate with anyone. But yeah, hip-hop, if it wasn't for hip-hop, I wouldn't be in the job I'm in now. Been 15 years at RNZ, media. Yeah. We are not spreading misinformation. Nah. I'm not a reporter, thank God, so, you know, because I remember at RNZ, I've been pretty militant about the way they treat hip-hop. And I remember going to the newsroom and Scribe was getting rinsed out through the media and just being going, why are you spinning this narrative? Like, I shouldn't have really gone on there, but I went into the news sub and said, you know, I'm finding it really bullshit with how you guys are treating Scribe. It's like, kick him while he's down, why don't you? And I find it racist, because if I was, you know, if he was white, would you guys be doing this shit? Anyway, yeah, hip hopper came out of me, because I work in a white radio station. It's frustrating as they get me to edit out rap songs with all the swear words and then the N word. And I had this big Barney with someone like not that long ago. I said, I actually think it's whack that you're making me edit out the N word. It's not our what? Who's offended? White people. And they couldn't really get it. I was like, man, this word has been disempowered for a reason. You know, you guys came up with this shit in the first place. You know, and being quite, because, you know, being Pākehā in a Pākehā environment, you can be quite militant with, like, I'm militant as at work. You know, people fire, like, because we're speaking way more te reo at work, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful language. I'm so proud of being a New Zealander for that reason. I'm not proud of my colonial roots. I don't even feel connected to my colonial roots. I feel far more connected, and I have emotional reactions when I'm welcome onto school, marae. Like, you know, I'm an emotional guy. I find it hard to put those emotions aside. Like, you saw me at the start. The kids were so embarrassed at me. Like, we got welcomed onto school and they picked me as the adult to come out and say some shit. Started, like, welling up and fucking crying at this school thing. My kids are like, I'm ashamed, Dad. But I do remember, like, growing up and saying to Mum going, Mum, do we have any Māori in us? She's like, nah. I was like, God, so weird, but I'm like looking at it from a white person's point of view. I don't understand really the lived experience of being brown in New Zealand. So I'm looking at it with rose-coloured eyes, you know, like I love all the things that society, like the haka and all those cool things that I think that are so uniquely New Zealand. That's why I reckon we're so, like, our Pacifica roots is the reason that New Zealand has got a special hip-hop scene. I was on the radio the other day with Nathan Rariri, and he asked me, why is New Zealand got such a strong connection to hip-hop? And it's simple, it's our Pacifica roots. And it's a platform for Indigenous people. And I mean, you know, I look at I've opened and performed with some of my favorite artists. It's unreal that you know, I had all this shit, all this baggage that I dealt with, and my daddy actually said to me from a very young age, he's like, you should have been a girl. So I felt not wanted from the very start. He said I should have been Samantha. Shout out Sam, one of my best mates. I've got some good friends in the audience here, and yeah, but I mean, you know, I have struggled with my mental health over the last wee while actually, just feeling burnt out, like JC said about COVID and those types of things. But at the end of the day, man, like, resilience and believing in yourself. You know, it sucks when your parents are not what you wanted them to be. Like, my mum is amazing, though. I haven't even spoken to her. She was the rock for me. But, yeah, there's still those things with your mum that piss me off, eh? When I ring her up. You told me this last time. But, yeah, the DMCs, 2005, you know, this whole, like, you know, I played so much of you guys' music on my radio show. Who else? Charisma, Scribe, you know, every artist, you know, I can think of. It's about, you know, uplifting people. Yeah, bro. I was in their music video. Worst hip-hop music video in the history of New Zealand hip-hop. Sorry, Sheila Rock, they all say the same thing. But yeah, they wrote me into that. Like, with my dreadlocks, looking, I don't even know what the concept was, but so funny how I was in there. And there's a few moments where I'm like, damn, it's hip-hop history right there in a minute. Wasn't even rapping or anything. It was the eye candy. That's what I tell myself. Not even. So, you know, I ended up doing a lot of shit, you know, beat making. I put on a lot of gigs. Always hooked up the brothers, brung down people like G&D and unfortunately Misfits Science. No shout out to those guys, no shit. I made a lot of money on that gig. They popped off with that Fool's Love song that's got some dubious lyrics in it now I look back on it. you know, and just lots of, I always figured that, you know, Sir-vere and Ali and all these guys are going to bring the international, the national gigs, and I'll help nurture this like local scene here. And like a lot of people here went through that, like 2000 to 2006, 7 period. It was incredible here in Christchurch City. We had multiple, because you know, like JC said, DJs are the backbone of the organisation shit. Like, don't get me started about wrangling MCs. They're the hardest dudes to wrangle. Be here at this time. 2 hours later, it's like, where were you? We had a studio booking, you know. So like trying to organise, you know, rappers is another kind of bugbear of mine as a DJ, because we are the organisers. Ali was the organiser, Sir-vere's the organiser, you know, Richie Paws organised plenty of events. We did like the beatbox battles, the MC battles. Fuck, I've got so many flyers under my house. Like, I just feel like the hip hop scene in that early 2000s, mid 2000s was incredible here. For an Anglo-Saxon white ass city, like, I mean, Sir-vere always come down and was like, this place is absolutely cranking. And, you know, I just remember so many crazy events, like when Decepticons played at the church with the Scratch Perverts, and they were so hoarse, they were so drunk, but it was just the most incredible, like these massive island guys up there, like, and then, you know, the Scratch Perverts came on and did the old technical DJ thing. So, and I can just think of so many crazy, awesome events. You know, I was involved in the 2005 Hip Hop Summit, and my phone had a virus, and because I had my Bluetooth set to Sticky Fingaz, people like come from fucking four corners, like, oh, Sticky setting a mixtape. Meh, wrong, virus. And then King Cap's got the virus as well. And then when we're at the studio, I was just in the crowd dancing, and DJ Shan from Dunedin comes running up to me, and I was like, oh, it's my opportunity. I thought he was going to tell me to go get my records. He's like, bro, your phone's trying to log into Sir-vere's fucking computer, like on stage while he's DJing. So my Bluetooth was trying to crack into Sir-vere's. There's these funny situations that happen that you always kind of think, fuck, man. But yeah, man, 2007, my wife finished her masters, and I actually came to Christchurch for a girl called Kate, and I left with one called Kate, different Kates. I know, weird. And I remember my last hip hop show, Mark T was there. And we had like a massive crew, just, you know, Jay Roach, let me think. Oh, Dan Money, Blackout Entertainment, rest in peace, Parole. We lost a lot of good ones on the way, eh? Jungle, Q Jigger, Lil's 3000. Like, my boy Pops, he died 2 weeks ago of a brain hemorrhage. I don't know if you guys know DJ Bulletproof in the drum bass scene. Another awesome individual. Who else? Louis Nux. Yeah, man, a lot of people. I'm just trying to think of the other ones. I don't want to miss anyone out here, eh? Yeah, bro, yeah. Yeah, bro. You know, I moved to Wellington in 2007. Cried when I left Christchurch. Cried at my last show. Trying to thank everyone. Just because I felt, for the first time in my life, I felt I belonged, you know, like moving to Wellington, I was like ultra worried about how I was going to be received, and like I was cautious about not just rocking in there and just, oh, I'm going to take over and all that. So I kind of like went in there real cautiously, and because of my ability to make connections with people, maybe through drug dealing back in the day, I don't know, but I was able to slide into the hip hop Wellington scene pretty seamlessly, and it opened up a lot of opportunities for me. I got to open for Raekwon, who drilled me out backstage about doing some scratch set with ODB's like lyrics and shit. He's like, oh bro, that's what we're gonna do, bro. I was like, oh shit. So that was interesting. And then I opened for Ghostface, and he was an ultra like chill dude. Jurassic 5, man, those guys are cool. After the gig at the Bedford here in Christchurch, we spent probably smoking weed and juicing. No shit. They had like this massive box of fruit in the back and a juicer. Like Newmark was like, straight after the gig. I was like, what the hell are you guys doing? I was like, oh, we juice after every gig. It's like Newmark's like right into it, and Cut Chemist is like, yeah, they were super chill dudes, and like I was never the guy that tried to get on the jock ride, you know, like they get a dude at every city trying to be their best mate, so I was quite like, you know, I don't want to be like De La Soul. They were cool. I got to not go on tour with them, but I played Christchurch and Wellington. They had cornflakes backstage in their rider, which I found strange, eh? But I had some. 10 o'clock at night, cornflakes. Bro, just Guru. Smoked weed with Guru. Rest in peace, brother. That was a great gig, eh, at the ministry? 2004. Yeah, no, it feels that long ago. It was at the ministry. Charisma was on, Sir-vere, SAS, Scribble, describe? Oh, sorry, bro. Big Sima. Garo Sima. Yeah, man. Cool gig, cool guy. Just again, just with the hip hop family, you know, I just have such fond memories. Not just of. Yeah, bro. He did all these sting tags for me. I got a KFC story too, but he did all these stings for me, like DJ Sticky for yo, this is Guru from Gangsta. I was like, and I cut them all up and put them in my mixtapes and that. And people were like, whoa, dude. But you know, it's just time and place. You know, right time, right place with my little recorder. You know, yeah, it was a good gig, bro. It was amazing. DJ alongside every dope turntable you can think of. Melody, Shortcut. Yeah, Rock Raider, rest in peace. DJ Craze, A-Track. Bro, remember the ITS was the first ITS I went in. A-Track was there, it was 2001 at the ministry. Fuck, we had like 13 DJs that year. DJ Sham one, had Mighty Matt B, Danger, Pause, DJ Case, me, DJ Correct, who was a badass DJ. Native Styles. Mate, we have produced some, like, I don't know, most people agree with me, but Ali's probably like one of the best DJs New Zealand has produced. Too bad he doesn't DJ out anymore. Too bad he doesn't make beats, because he was a sick beat writer too. Did stuff with you guys. They did that awesome song in the harmonic. Was it like the old record player in the video, I think, eh? Yeah, there's one with you scratching, I think, with on the, what are they called? Those old fucking megaphone looking. Yeah, bro. So it was a proud, like every time Ali was on TV, it was like, oh sweet, a guy from Christchurch doing his thing. And then of course, you know, there was Richie Mills on What Now. Man, I just feel real proud to be part of the Christchurch hip hop community. I'm really, really honoured and blessed to be here. It's been such an amazing few days, just reconnecting with people I haven't seen for a long time, meeting new people, talking to cats that saying that because of the earthquakes and COVID, the old school guys who mentor hadn't been really around, and maybe that's the kind of fracture that we're seeing at the moment with the hip hop scene, and you know, things are out of our control. Like the earthquake was really devastating for the Christchurch music scene, not just hip hop, but all the venues, boom, taken out in one big go, like every venue. And that's quite hard to come back to Christchurch and be in the inner city, all the venues that I played at and the memories I have, and you know, the good times. You know, the Dolomix hip hop show was such a great platform for people. You know, J-Dubs and Aries were my two MCs, and they were shit hot on the freestyle, and they were quite protective of their spot. They felt like it was theirs, but I had to tell them, yo man, we can't be just about ourselves. This isn't like our scene. This isn't our genre to control. This is a platform that should be open to everyone. And if you don't agree with me, then so be it. But like, I just wanted people to have an opportunity to spit rhymes on the radio. It might just seem like small time, but some of those guys, that's an opportunity that no one's really afforded them before. And yeah, I'm just glad I could facilitate that. I'm not trying to be a hero or anything, because I don't think I deserved that kind of stature or anything. I just did what I thought was right. And then, you know, when I moved to Christchurch, Wellington, sorry, Omega B was there, thankfully. Yo.
Hey bro, just on behalf of the community, I just want to say
don't know if there's that many, but 500,000. I said 500,000.
Whatever the case, I think that you deserve your flowers for putting on local cats.
Oh,
That's
thanks,
something
bro.
that you've done throughout, so thank you.
Oh, cheers, man. I appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it. So yeah, I've moved to Wellington. Of course, the home of hip hop. Like, sorry to the Aucklanders, but sorry, Aucklanders, nah. But you know, if you want to look at the very roots of hip hop with Upper Hutt Posse, and you know, that's where it started, bro. That's where it started. And your Reese B, oh man, that guy, yeah, Reese B's that guy, and Raw. Those guys were always super open-armed with me, you know, because I always see the Wellington to Auckland thing back in the day, and I was worried. I was like, oh shit, you know, the community down in Christchurch have embraced me, well, Wellington, and they did, man, they did, and I did get a lot of gigs, and I thought to myself sometimes, it's like, I hope people aren't getting pissed off. I was just trying to make connections with the owners of bars, and luckily for me, the sandwiches guys were Johnny Halstead is an old school raver, and his wife at the time was a good friend of mine, so he hooked me up. I got to, you know, open for DJ Crush, which was a highlight. I love Crush. The Scratch Perverts. Oh man, who else? Black Alicious. Rest in peace, Gifted Gab. A lot of guys have died that I've opened for. I hope that's not a sign that I'm jinxing it. Yeah, so you know, I've been at RNZ. Took a long time for me to break down the barriers and try, like, because as far as those guys at RNZ are concerned, the hip hop scene doesn't even exist. So, you know, I was trying to convince these people, I've done this, I've done that, you know, I've put on gigs, I've made beats, and it's just like, no, we don't do hip hop here. But then I think about 3 years ago, like a few people changed roles, and a person came into the role that I was tight with, and I was just like, yo, time's now. I need to start doing shit on here. I need to start platforming people I think that deserve to be platformed. You want to talk about diversity, but you're not willing to like broadcast diversity, you're not going to get anyone of colour listening to you if you're just going to play white shit, right? Bob Dylan and Fleetwood Mac, which I love, don't get me wrong, but if you want to diversify what your listenership is, especially the public